I'm Kat, I'm the Community Manager for UTS Startups, and welcome to another Entrepreneurial Confessions session with entrepreneurs we respect deeply. Today we're here with Steph Weiss from Arula. Can I get a little round of applause for Steph, please, everyone? So in these chats, we really want to get to the bottom of what actually happened so that others might be able to follow in the footsteps of our startups. So to kick us off, in 10 seconds, Steph, can you tell me what Arula does?
Sure. Hello, everybody. So I am the founder of a startup called Arula, where we 3D print customized breast prosthetics for women who have had mastectomies due to breast cancer.
Beautiful. Awesome. Perfect. And to get started, can you tell me, Steph, who you were as a person, I was going to say as a founder, but not as a founder. So before even starting Arula, who were you?
So I was a third-year biomedical engineering student. I worked 2 part-time jobs, which equivalented about 1 full-time job. And I was someone that worked 7 days a week or studied in those off days. So I thought, why not? I have all the time in the world to start a startup.
And do you think, had startups or entrepreneurship ever been something that you were attracted to or that you had thought about?
To be honest, no. It definitely wasn't something. But also at the same time, I didn't actually know what I wanted to do. So I went into this engineering degree without the mindset of I'm going to become an engineer and work as an engineer. I went into this engineering degree because I woke up one day and said, I want to study engineering and I'm going to do that, and what happens next? Who knows? So I think I sort of fell into it, but it was very soon after I did fall into it that I realized I was in the right place.
Nice. And so speaking of falling into Arula, how did you first become connected to the idea and get started working this startup?
So it was definitely to do with my degree in biomedical engineering. I've always been super into maths and science and I guess STEM. But I've also spent a lot of time volunteering and helping people out and doing first aid responding work. So I always wanted to sort of marry up that idea, and I couldn't really imagine my life without doing something that was beneficial to the world. And I definitely tried a bit of corporate biomed engineering work, and it really just wasn't for me. I wanted to make this change in the world, and when this opportunity came up, I kind of initially just did it to pass the time, even though I didn't have any time, but it was very soon after I was like, actually, I think I can do this full time, and it was only about 2-3 months before I joined on full time.
And just to go back there, so you actually did take some steps into working in corporate biomed?
For 4 days.
Okay. And what did you learn in those 4 days?
Lunchrooms are really cool. I think it was really interesting because I got to go to a place where I was in a room of 150 biomedical engineers, and I think before today there may even be some people watching this who had never even heard or met a biomedical engineer. So I think that was really cool and really inspirational to find people that thought like me and were interested in things like I am. But it was just also, I guess, linear, and I work and I study and I do all these crazy things, and I work really late at night and I work really early in the morning, so it just wouldn't have really worked for me.
Yeah, awesome. And you found, I guess, the shift moving into Arula and being able to set your own timetable.
Yeah, I
much
think
more of a fit.
I think it was perfect, and I get ideas at 4 o'clock in the morning and I get ideas at 12:30 at night, so I think it had that leniency for me to just open my computer up and do whatever I want. I wouldn't want anyone to see what time I'm actually on my computer today because they'd think I'm crazy, but I got 2 computers, so I worked it out.
And so you said you jumped on board with Arula, and then it wasn't that long after that you were working full time on it.
Yeah.
Was there something that happened in that shift that really allowed you to see that you were onto something good, or were there indicators along the way that helped you realize that you had momentum and you were onto something really important?
I think that big moment for us was we got offered to interview at Y Combinator in San Francisco. So that is, for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it is the first ever accelerator program. So essentially They give you some investment, you do a sprint with them for 12 weeks. It's known as the best one. They've had incredible startups like Airbnb, Reddit, GitHub, to name a few, go through it. And this is obviously pre-COVID, they're like, you know what, we want to interview you for 10 minutes, but you have to do it in person. So they gave us money to fly over, to have accommodation, transfers from the airport, and we went and sat in a room for 10 minutes and did this interview, and it was the best day of my life. And I really also wanted to go to Disneyland, didn't work out, but we stayed there for a week and we did shopping, and I did everything a 2-year-old girl would want to do in America, besides for those 10 minutes. But it was incredible, and we met incredible people in our interview, and we didn't get in the end, but I was so happy. I think a lot of people weren't even sure what the outcome was, because it was just that amazing having this experience. And even though we didn't get in, we still got validated on a lot of the things that we were talking about, of our market, of our product, and that was just incredible.
Wow. Going and interviewing for YC at the age of 21 is pretty incredible. How was that experience for you? And how did you have resolve in what you were doing, and I guess find the confidence to go over it and chat to these people in these interviews? Are there any tips or tricks you can pass on to everyone here?
I think the most interesting thing that I learned about YC and the interview was it actually said on this email they sent us about the interview, please don't dress up. Please come in a hoodie. And I think that was the thing. Even the people interviewing us, and they were interviewing 30 startups, even more that day, were in hoodies or jackets. It's this vibe that I, as a person, resonate with. I'm not a corporate person. I'm a very relaxed person. I pretty much live at the beach. So I really enjoyed that it wasn't what I look like or who I was or my age or my gender. It was just, hey, this sounds pretty cool. Come to America and tell us what you're doing, and we'll see if we can help you, sort of thing.
Yeah, awesome, amazing stuff. So good ideas are all over the place, which, being in the startup ecosystem, everyone is working on, something really interesting that could be really revolutionary. But so much comes down to the actual work that you're putting into that startup and the persistence of you showing up to work on it. What enabled you, and still enables you now, given that you're kind of MVP testing stage, to keep working on Arula before you're making money with your startup?
I think the most important thing to me at the end of the day has always been the customer and these women that I'm helping. And I was actually just saying to Kat before, I've been on the road for 3 weeks testing the product over the east coast of Australia, and it's just so nice to have people as excited about this product as you are, and that they're your customer. And I think it's really hard sometimes, and so many people say finding your customer is the hardest thing, but being able to speak to these women and have really genuine conversations that then adds to my product testing, and then we can sort of go into that idea of product testing, has been super important. And I think my relationships with them are super important. I'm also not the biggest extrovert in the world. This is very much out of my comfort zone. And I think at the beginning, I thought this was a massive thing and that it was going to hold me back. But I think I have this ability to just have a conversation with someone one-on-one and be able to connect with them. And that has got me pretty far. I think I'm a pretty good listener, as not so much speaker, but definitely a great listener. And I'm willing to take people's feedback on board. I think a lot of people think their product's amazing to start off with, and you do need to definitely be constantly iterating.
I can definitely vouch for that, Steph. You are incredibly personable as a person, which is such an amazing quality to have. In your first year of working on Arula, what did that journey look like when you guys were just starting out? So
my first year was very hard. I think we incorporated the company maybe 2-3 weeks before COVID. And having a product that is an in-person thing, it was a lot for me to be like, oh my God, I'm 22. I was also one-armed because I had shoulder surgery, and it was my writing arm, so I really couldn't do anything for about 2 months. But I think another thing was that the company was having major changes at that time, and I needed to become, it sounds super cheesy, but almost become one with the company. I sort of felt like there was a massive disjoint between myself and what this company was, and I really wanted it to be an extension of myself and have similar values and a similar sort of way that I like to go about my life. I'm very honest, I'm very transparent, and I think I'm also quite earthy and natural, and I wanted it to have that feel to it. I didn't want it to be this like bold magenta on the printer color. I think I wanted it to be more of a natural, you can see it?
Yeah, I can picture
the
it
cartridge.
in my mind. Yeah.
I wanted it to be a bit more relaxed, a bit more toned down, something that makes you feel confident and self-empowered. So I spent a lot of time actually working on myself to become this founder, to become this spokesperson, whilst still keeping the essence of who I am, which I think was super important. I think it's easy to get lost in this startup world where everything's super flashy and this is this and this is that, and it's just not really my style.
Yeah, beautiful. So we love technology-enabled entrepreneurship here at UTS, and for you, Steph, were there particular technologies that really made Arula possible? And that could be in terms of, you know, the product that you're developing, but even how you're reaching your customers and how you're engaging with your markets.
Yeah, for sure. So we are a 3D printing company, so I think there's definitely a lot of tech involved in that. I think before starting, I think I 3D printed maybe once. I can't really remember, maybe once in class, and I quickly had to be like, oh my God, I have a 3D printing company, but I have no idea how to do this. So I did a couple of crash courses, and I think by now I'm pretty savvy with a 3D printer.
Can I ask, not to interrupt you, but what crash courses did you do? Like how did you get access to, was it YouTube or was it like certain platforms that really helped you?
Google.
Yeah, no, that's great, yeah.
I'm that person, I saw a meme on it yesterday of if Google doesn't have it in a big square, like I'm not gonna read it. So it's always gonna be the first thing. But then other times I'll be searching and I'll be on page 23 and not clicked anything. So it's very much doing that. I think the amazing thing about 3D printing and CAD technologies are there are heaps of forums out there that you're able to do things. And I think this is something I also learned how to be this sort of problem solver when I was working in my previous internship. And I was working more in a software development role. And I was coding as something very specific, and I would look at other different languages. And I think from that, I was able to look at, I don't know, SolidWorks, and then be like, okay, now how can I do this in this software? So I think that's sort of how I did it. Very gritty.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. I feel like, you know, the whole purpose of these chats and these confessions is to really unpack and work out how it was that you got to where you are. And I think people often forget that so many people do just Google things when they don't know the answer, and, you know, really normalizing that every founder that exists didn't know the answer as they were going along. So these kind of tips are super useful. Yeah. On that topic, if there was a secret recipe to your early success with Arula, what would the ingredients be?
I think definitely being able to have the self-confidence and the self-discipline is super important. I never thought, and I very much remember being at the end of high school saying, I will never wake up before 7 a.m. ever again, because that is just inhumane. I wake up before 6 a.m. most days now, and I go to the gym, or I start work really early, like 6:30 in the morning. And it's just because I have this inspiration, I have that drive. And I think having that drive is super important, because if you're not inspired and you're not wanting to keep going, then it's just going to be really challenging for you. And I think that is what's super important. I think a massive bonus for me is also the social impact element of the company. It means I'm always working to help the greater good of people and help people's lives, and it's almost a bonus to keep me with that drive.
Yeah, nice. So we're now sitting on 2 years since you started Arula. What does it look like today?
It's pretty fun today. We've had a very long journey with lots of lockdowns, but I've currently got 26 women ready to test the product. I currently have 2 in circulation in Melbourne, and I'm just finishing off another 8 to ship off next week, and then I've got a trip to Adelaide. Hopefully, if I can get into Perth, go to Perth to do that. And so I've got working really closely with these women. I'm pretty much trying to become their best friends. It's working kind of well, and I want to slowly grow that up and grow my customer base from them, and I want to get them right so that I can expand it. So hoping to do some beta testing closer to 70 to 100 women by the middle of this year, and then hopefully launching by the end of this year, which is really exciting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
It is a very exciting year. 2022 is going to be fun.
Yeah. And then, further than 2022, what do the next couple of years look like for you?
Yeah, so I would love to get this product out across Australia as quickly as possible. On my testing in Victoria, I think in 4 days I clocked up about 600 kilometers, because a lot of these women lived in rural communities and they don't have the same sort of shops that we do in metropolitan areas. So I want it to be as accessible as possible. Breast cancer isn't something that just happens in the city, it happens all over the country. So I want our product to be accessible and all over Australia within the next year. And then furthering that across the world. Breast cancer hits every single country, and I think I would love to help as many women across the world with this issue as much as possible.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Steph. So you've got a lot to be proud of.
Oh, thank you.
But to finish up, what do you look like today? So for you, in your journey as a founder and as an entrepreneur, what does Steph look like now?
I actually, since the age of 18, have a day off on a Saturday, which is very exciting for me.
A big achievement for a founder,
massive
I think.
achievement. Sometimes it's not a day off, but most of the time it is. I'm in my final semester of university, so I'll finally have this degree. And I think I'm definitely a much more confident person than I was before. Kat can vouch for this. When I think in the first 6 months of us meeting, I probably maybe said 20 words to you. I'm not a good big talker, but I definitely feel much more confident and much more empowered to literally go over to random people's houses and test this product. And I love it. I've had to learn how to be comfortable doing things I definitely wasn't comfortable with, but I think I'm pretty proud of who I am today. I like me.
And looking back, what advice would you give, your past self when you were first starting out? Or, to any of our other aspiring entrepreneurs who are watching this later on or who are sitting in the crowd today?
I think something I really was thinking about in the last 2 weeks or so was, I always thought of this idea of I'm still a student, I don't have these years of expertise behind me as a bad thing, but when I was thinking about this the other week, I think it's actually enabled me to do more and span my creativity more. I think people come into these roles of startups being like, I'm an engineer, or I'm a designer, or I'm a marketing person, and they really lock themselves into this box. And startups aren't like that. You really need to be able to do everything. You need to be able to market even though you're an engineer. And I think that would definitely be my advice, is don't think of yourself as what your expertise are, but think of what you can help people with, would be my advice.
Yeah. And I guess on that note, Steph, how important for you along the journey was building networks or connecting into people who had expertise that you didn't have?
It was super important. I think I would have not met any of my testers if I was just not talking to anyone. UTS Startups has been super helpful, connecting me with different people. Also on the business side of things, I would not know anything. I still don't know much about accounting and things like that, but I would know even less, and legal stuff. So that's really important, but also finding my customers. I'm actually in a really great position where my database of women that would be interested in the product is sitting at about 60 women. I've never spent a single dollar on marketing or really ever put any marketing out there. It's all been from really great opportunities through the media and things like that. Mm-hmm. So that's why the networks are super important, and I've met some of the coolest people through it as well.
And aside from UTS Startups, where did you find those networks? So for anyone who's watching this, if you want to tap into other people and into these networks, what did you find effective?
So I did go through StartMate Accelerator program in the beginning of 2020. So that has one of the best networks in Australia across the startup ecosystem. I also went through a program through Fishburners called FemPowered 2 years ago, and that one also had really incredible mentors. But I think also just turning up at events, sort of like this one today, is a super great thing. You can meet some very interesting people. I would say the people I speak to the most today are definitely not people that I was fully set up with meetings with. They were definitely more of a, hey, let's have a conversation. Oh my God, you do that? No ways, that's helpful. And that's where most of my relationships have mainly come from.
Beautiful. On that topic, is there anything that you need at the moment for your company? And if so, how can people reach you to help you out?
Sure. So right now we're definitely looking at this road to commercialization. So if you know anyone with any manufacturing experience in 3D printing or medtech, I'd love to meet them. Also connections to the breast cancer space, if that's foundations, support groups, or doctors. And you can reach us at arula.com.au.
Beautiful.
Great
awesome.
plug.
Nice. So right now we are going to dive into the juicy part of this interview for our in-person attendees only. If you do want to come along for this portion of our confessions, make sure you come here, UTS Startups at Central on the corner of Broadway and Harris Street every Friday at 3:30 p.m. But can we get a round of applause and to thank the awesome Steph?